and Talking Wolves, welcome back to the channel today. Just wanted to do a little introduction before we kick off today's video. Big thanks to the guys at Back of the Nest for this one. It's our first opposition preview of the season. I decided to split the opposition thoughts and do it as a separate video this week to our normal match preview. So today is our opposition preview against Crystal Palace. So it's a Crystal Palace fan. I've given them some questions that I'd be sort of intrigued to hear the answers for, and maybe you guys will be interested as well, just to learn a little bit more about our opponents on Sunday. And as always, we will have our normal match preview, me alongside Finners. That'll be up this weekend as well. But hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you do, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hear their thoughts for the game.
Hi there guys, Harvey here, Crystal Palace fan. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. Really looking forward to the game at the weekend. Wolves games always seem to be quite close games, especially last season. The two games were particularly close, and a shock win for us away at Molineux as well. So I think this is a game that definitely last season showed potential in terms of games going forward, that it could be quite close and quite a hard fought contest between the two sides, which I quite like. Normally these sort of games can be quite open and you don't really know what you're going to get with Palace, and that may be the case in this match at the weekend. But going off of what happened last season, I'm hoping that we can put together a good performance and hopefully get the result. But answering your questions, first and foremost, like the feeling around the club at the moment. Obviously a very inconsistent start for Palace. Much better start to the season than it has been in previous seasons, I have to say that. Again, 7 points on the board after 5 games is quite a good start for us. 7 points after 4 technically, if you discount the Spurs loss last week, which was a very poor result and a very poor performance. We have had good results in there. The win away at United for the first time in the Premier League era. It's an amazing result for us, absolutely fantastic. And that was a defensive performance that probably will be the best defensive performance of the season, to be honest. The way we set up and broke United's attack down. They really struggled to break us down, and we looked to really counter-attack with threat on the wings with the pace that we have. And they seemed to struggle to deal with it, and resorted to side-to-side passes, slightly more direct, and they couldn't really do much with it. So you have performances like that, and then you have performances like against Spurs last weekend, which was complete opposite. We were very open, much more open than we should have been. The midfield was almost non-existent. Defence didn't have the best of games, especially our fullbacks. And up front, we didn't have the ball much up front, but when we did have it, we weren't as clinical as we were against United. United, obviously, we only had a couple of shots at goal, and both of them went in. So for me, personally, I think the feelings of most of the fans is still slightly positive, because we got points on the board early, and that's something we haven't had in previous seasons. There is some groans around the place, which is understandable after a 4-0 defeat, and I think there are still question marks over the actual depth we have up front, because if Ayu's not on fire, which we've been very fortunate that he has been on form going into the start of this season, and obviously two goals in the last 3 games. If he's not on form, then Benteke is the only real option we have off the bench, and he's been out of form for the last 2 or 3 seasons, to be honest. So there are still question marks over squad depth in certain areas, and if we do have a few injuries, we could be in real trouble. But I think in general, there is a real feeling of positivity around the place at the moment. But we do have a tricky run of games coming up, and Wolves is included in that. So really, we need to look to be getting a win, hopefully against Wolves, to go into the games that we've got following Wolves, which is some very, very difficult, playing 2 or 3 games against the top 4, top 5 teams in the league. So we really need to continue getting points on the board to not waste this good start to the season we've had. Secondly, Roy Hodgson, of course. He's coming towards the end of his time as a manager now. I think that's fair to say. He's already the oldest manager in the Premier League. He surpassed Bobby Robson midway through last season as the oldest Premier League manager. And what a career he's had, it's got to be said. He's had a fantastic career as a manager, as a coach. And I think this is a great place for him to finish his career. I can see him finishing his career at Palace. He's a South London, Croydon boy. This is his local team, a team he supported as a child. So I could see this being the end of his time as a manager at Palace. Whether it's the end of this season or next season, I think it's literally just around the corner, realistically. I do think it'll be a couple more seasons max that he'll have before he retires, in my honest opinion. What are the feelings around that? To be honest, I think there's a lot of mixed thoughts on Roy Hodgson. I think that for every 2 or 3 good games he has, he will then have another 1 or 2 bad games to follow that, and tends to be one of those games will be really, really poor. And a lot of question marks do come up over some of his tactics in game. I think he has his ability to change things up in game is quite poor, to be honest. If we are behind and we need to change something up, I think Roy Hodgson, he's shown time and time again that he leaves substitutions too late. Sometimes he doesn't even make subs at all. And to be fair, sometimes it's due to the lack of, as I said, lack of depth in certain positions. He doesn't have faith in the players that could come off the bench to change a game. But even so, there are times that you really want to pull your hair out as a fan, because you're like 70, 75 minutes, we're 1-0 down, for example, against Wolves last year. And, come on, let's make a sub, let's change things up. But he won't do it until 80, 85th minute. And by then it will probably be too late for those subs to make a real impact. So there are you're always going to have frustrations with Roy, I think, with the way he tactically, he sets himself out tactically in games, sets the team up. Sometimes he can set up with the wrong formation. We've used 4-4-2 quite a bit in last season, and there are certain games that we should not have been using that formation in. And they're small things, but they kind of add up, especially when he doesn't alter it. When he starts doing it multiple games and it doesn't change. But then equally, you have results like Man City away last year, Man United this year. There are some massive results that he's gotten as a manager, and to be fair, he's if you look at his record since coming to Palace, the fact he's kept us in the Premier League for this amount of time as well has been fantastic, and it's quite rare that a manager keeps Palace in the Premier League, to be honest. So you've got to look at it. He gets the job done, and his results and his positions at the end of the season kind of show that, even though along the way there has been some bumps in the road. So I think that we will be looking at a new manager soon for sure. He'll be just around the corner, he'll retire, but I think a lot of fans will have mainly positive views on Hodgson. I'd be surprised if a lot of fans or if that many fans will be against him and want him to leave right now. I think there'll still be a lot of support for Hodgson at the moment. Looking at the game though, going forward to the game, weaknesses for the Wolves team to exploit. Obviously Wolves coming in not in the best of form, still haven't won in the Premier League yet, but this is a great time to do it. Normally if there's a team that needs a record broken, come to Selhurst Park, come to Palace, we'll give you that win that you need. So that tends to be the case, and you can look at previous seasons, we always seem to do it and gift teams wins when it looks like we should be the ones winning the game. It was all set up for a game that Palace should get at least a draw out of, like this game for example. I'm going in with the mindset that we can get a point out of this at least, because Wolves are on a poor run of form in the league. But it never seems to turn out like that. So weaknesses you look to exploit for sure this season will be the fullbacks. I think that Spurs showed it. If you get the ball out quickly with a high tempo and accurate crossing, we struggle with the pace in behind those areas. Van Aanholt's got the pace to keep up with the wingers, but I think he's got such an attacking mindset that if he makes a mistake, his recovery runs aren't as good as some of the other fullbacks in the league, some of the better fullbacks, for example. And on the other side, Joel Ward, as much of a club legend that he is, he's lost that yard of pace that he couldn't afford to lose in the first place. He didn't have to lose in the first place. He's already, I think it's fair to say, in the twilight of his career right now. I think he's not going to get any better. If anything, he's slightly worse than he was when he first entered the team a few seasons ago. And yeah, he's not got that much pace. If you knock the ball past him, you will get round him, and then it's more likely to obviously lead to a foul and the crosses coming into the box as well. So I think the fullback areas is where Wolves can really exploit. I think that'll be our weak point going into this game. And as I said, Spurs did it brilliantly. Also the space, if we leave, I feel at home we like to set up deep like an away team and get the away side to come at us. Almost like a role reverse. So I'd expect Wolves to have most of the ball, to act like it's at Molineux, that we're going to Molineux and that we're the away team. So I could see us sitting fairly deep and compact. Away to Spurs, we weren't. We left so much room in the midfield, and if you have a quick tempo as an away team, you can really threaten us. If you can knock it into the gap between the midfield and defence, getting those little pockets, whether it's Jota, Jimenez picking up the ball, if they have time to turn and run at the defence, then that's going to cause us real problems, and Spurs showed that last weekend. In terms of players to look out for Wolves on the flip side, of course, Wilfried Zaha. I know he's had a poor start to the season, and I think all the stuff off the pitch, all the transfer links, and obviously the transfer request he put in was a big reason. It is a big reason for him having a poor start to the season. Hasn't really shown his full potential. He's only playing around, I'd say, 50-60% of what what he can do. He had good glimpses against Spurs, but nothing that really threatened Lloris in goal. And I think he's due a good performance. So obviously when Zaha's on the pitch, you can never write him off. He can always bring out a match-winning performance for sure, but he's not firing all cylinders at the moment. So he is due a good performance, to be fair. So this could be the moment, this could be the game, this could be the turning point. So of course, whenever Zaha's on the pitch, he's got to be the one you look out for. If you stop Zaha, that's a big part of our attack gone and a big part of our team stopped, you know, and that can lead to definitely a positive result for Wolves. In other areas though, Jordan Ayew, I wouldn't write him off purely because he's on probably some of the best form of his career at the moment. He's been definitely our player of the season so far, playing some brilliant stuff, even against Spurs where the whole team played poorly. I thought he did a lot in terms of trying to win the ball back. He did okay holding the ball up on his own up front. He with Alderweireld, Vertonghen around him, did very well to hold the ball up. So I wouldn't write off Jordan Ayew. He's in good form at the moment, and you know, he's the sort of player, obviously scored against Wolves last season. You focus on Jordan Ayew and Zaha, and if you can stop those two, then that will go a long way in terms of Wolves getting a result. And finally, score predictions. Well, as I said, this is a massive game for Palace. We've got a really tricky run coming up, and Wolves is the start of this tricky run. I do rate Wolves very highly, but as you're not playing very well in the Premier League at the moment and probably got ambitions to do as well as you can in the Europa League, I feel like this is as good a chance as any for Palace to get something, especially at home. We've got to look to turn around our home form, not been the best of late. So for me, I've got to stay positive, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 Palace win. I do think Wolves will score a goal. I don't think that the defence... I feel like Sakho, he's only just got back into the first team from a lengthy injury, so I feel like he will need some time to get back to full match pace, and because of that, he got absolutely ripped apart away at Spurs. So I feel like there will still be times where we look like we're going to concede, and with Wolves' quality in the attacking areas, I think Cutrone is a great signing for you guys as well. Whether he starts or not is another matter, but I think... Wolves can definitely threaten, and I can see them scoring, but I think the importance of the game, especially with the run, as I said, I say it again, the run we've got coming up in the next 4 or 5 games, I think Palace will look at this as a game we have to at least get a point out of, more so a win. So those are my thoughts on the game. Really looking forward to it at the weekend. Thank you guys, best of luck.